Okay. And my situation. Something. So something else? MashaAllah. Good? Okay, alhamdulillah. All right. Inshallah, this if there's any clipping, so if you start to hear that static kind of sound, inshallah, if you put a text on, inshallah, on it, I won't be able to catch it obviously right now, but before the recitation begins, if you send me a text message, inshallah, I will try. There's not much I can do, but we will try to do what we can do to make an adjustment. We are off the amp right now, so there's no gain to this. So it is what it is, inshallah. But hopefully, inshallah, bidhnillah, it will go well. Okay. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ba'da a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. We are this evening, inshallah, Hafiz Sahib is going to read from the 20th juz, and in the 20th juz is Surah Al-Qasas, the stories, and here in, let's see, this is ayah number 55, inshallah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now is talking about the interactions that take place between believers and non-believers, between Muslims and non-Muslims. And sometimes, especially with the social political environment, we have to because so there's a mindset. So unfortunately, labels are becoming so predominant, and the labels are becoming so hollow and superficial. They're just very shallow. So this is when we're saying believers and we're saying that they're non-believers. With the believers, we're talking about a particular mindset, and that mindset is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes so many different times. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains, what is the mindset, what is the heart, what is the way of thinking of a non-Muslim, of a mushrik, of a Christian, of a Jew, of a munafiq, of a believer, of so these different categories of individuals and these different levels and these different statuses that the human being can currently be standing upon. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains how they are and gives details about their mindset and how their hearts are. So here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now talking about the believers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَإِذَا سَمِعُوا اللَّغْوَ أَعْرَضُوا عَنْهُ وقالوا لنا أعمالنا ولكم أعمالكم سلام عليكم لا نبتغي الجاهلين. So these believers that, mashallah, that they are, when they are hearing lagwa, وَإِذَا سَمِعُوا اللَّغْوَ. Al-lagwa is foolish talk. It is vain talk. It is senseless. It doesn't have any point to it. It's also used for blunders and mistakes. وَلَا يَسْمَعُونَ فِيهَا لَغْوًا وَلَا تَأْثِيمًا. So there will not be any of this in Jannah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. So when they hear this useless talk, so قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم حسن إسلام قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم حسن إسلام المرء تركه ما لا يعنيه أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام, that the excellence of the Islam of a person is that he leaves off that which doesn't have any benefit for him. It doesn't have any meaning to him. So this is part of our Islam, and this is a huge aspect of our deen. So here, this lagwa, and we were just talking about I think a couple of days ago, if not yesterday, the speech and talking. It might have been the Ghazali class. where we're not careful, if we're not careful about the words that come out of our mouths, and we are not cautious about what we're saying and what we are talking about. And generally, what happens is people love talking about problems, whether that's talking about problems that are current events or they're complaining about their own personal problems. But people like talking about problems. They like talking about politics. They like talking about like conspiracy theories, and they like talking about celebrities. So these are the types of things. And basically anything that's like revolving around some form of drama or something where you can't even reach a clear conclusion, it's just speculation. So again, it's just kind of like endless talking and talking and talking and talking. And there's no benefit to it whatsoever. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that these believers, that when they hear this, a'radu, so they turn away from it. So they're turning away from this because it has no benefit to them whatsoever. And then waqalu, now they say, lana a'maluna, for us is our a'mal, walakum, when for you a'malukum, and for you is your a'mal. So the same thing, we say lakum dinukum waliya deen. So here you have to answer for your actions, I have to answer for my actions. So I'm turning away from this, and it says what? Salamun alaykum. Salamu alaikum. So this is the beauty of it, and this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now is describing the mindset of the believer and the actions of the believer when they encounter this useless talk. So there's so much of it that goes on today, and it used to be that now, like, you would be in an environment and somebody would initiate this kind of talking, or you'd walk into a situation where this was going on. Whereas now we are the ones who are trying to find our ways into it. So whether that's through, again, we have the whole social media aspect, we have YouTube and this and that and the other. So we try to find our way in chat rooms and everything. So we try to find our way into these useless conversations, where now we are more than likely we are gathering up a multitude of sins, and then on top of that we are getting absolutely no benefit from it whatsoever, and we are wasting our time. So the believer says, just turns away from the whole thing. I'm not dealing with it. You have to answer for your actions, I have to answer for mine. So I got to take care of me. Self-preservation, this is awla, this is the first and foremost, this is our primary responsibility. And the brother was saying, Hafiz Sahib was saying yesterday, I usually use he used a different one. What was it? Astaghfirullah. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Yes. So on the plane, so when you're getting on the plane and they tell you that, in case of emergency, if the mask comes down, put your mask on first before putting your mask on your own child. Meaning, like, before you can help anybody else, you have to make sure that you can help yourself first. So you can't help anybody if you're the one who's passing out, if you're the one who is in danger. So you have to take care of yourself first, even in those situations. I usually find myself using the one with the when you're talking about saving somebody who is drowning, same thing. If you are not careful, you will actually end up dying with the person who is drowning. Drownings happen in pairs. The person who was initially drowning and then the person who tried to save them ends up getting dragged down with them at the same time. So here, this notion and understanding of self-preservation. I'm going to die by myself. I'm going to have to stand in front of Allah by myself, and I'm going to have to answer for my a'mal. So for me is my a'mal, and for you are yours. You answer for yours, I answer for mine. But as for this thing between you and I, salamun alaykum. So peace be upon you. La yabtaghi al-jahilin, and la nabtaghi al-jahilin. So that we're not like seeking out. We don't want to have anything to do with. This is not something that we want any part of. What do we want any part of? The jahilin, those people who are ignorant, those people are foolish. So when they're engaging in speculative talk, and they're complaining, and there's backbiting, and there's gossip, and blah 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 and blah blah blah, and that's what it is, blah blah blah. So blah 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 blah. We turn away from it. We say salamun alaykum, and we keep our self-preservation in mind, and then we move on from that. Bi-idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is okay. All right. So there's one more thing I wanted to then yeah. Just real quick, because I've been mentioning it, but I've been doing the English before. So right after this ayah comes, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَهُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِالْمُهْتَدِينَ. Immediately after this, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now talking about those who turn away from individuals who are engaging in useless and foolish talk, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings right after this, addressing Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ, that you do not get to guide those whom you love, those whom you like. Walakin, but rather Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yahdi man yasha. Allah guides whomever He wills. Wa huwa a'lamu bil muhtadin. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best who is rightly guided. And sometimes in these conversations that we get into these conversations because we're trying to, we believe that we're going to convince somebody of something, or we see that they are on the wrong track, and now we engage in conversation, and we get caught up in the, and we get caught up in the whole thing, not engaging in it on their level, but rather refuting it, thinking that we're going to be able to convince them, that we're going to be able to guide them. And sometimes these are our friends or family members, loved ones, and we engage in these conversations and we want the best from them. So it's not we have a good intention. But the thing about it is that, again, with this understanding of self-preservation, this basic principle of self-preservation, our own spiritual preservation, and the preservation of our akhirah and our status, and as the abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and fulfilling our oath and covenant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala regarding our ibadah and our obedience and worship. What ends up happening is that we get drugged into this whole song and dance, this war of words, so to speak. And even though we have good intentions, sometimes things become, the friction builds up, and sometimes the rifts start to develop even between family members. So we have to be very careful with this also. But just taking the ayah and isolating it by itself, that innaka la tahdi, that you and I, we are not responsible for the hidayah of anybody. And regardless of how many tools are at our disposal, no matter how much we may want somebody to be guided, hidayah is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And according to the hikmah, the ilm, and the tadbir, so the wisdom, the knowledge, and the overall just planning of the entirety of creation and the universe, the cosmos itself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows who is guided, who is rightly guided. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. وَهُوَ عَلِيمٌ بِذَاتِ الصُّدُورِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's in our hearts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is well aware of what is happening internal with each and every individual. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also knows what has happened with them in the past, what is going on with the present, as well as in the future. So our responsibility as the Ummah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that we are supposed to be we're supposed to give bashara to those individuals who are doing what they're supposed to be doing and obeying Allah. And we're supposed to be nadhir for those who give the same thing, the warnings to those individuals who may be outside of the boundaries of the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But guidance is not in our hands. There's no amount of convincing. We can't convince anybody. And a lot of times non-Muslims, they get shocked because I tell them that we don't believe in converting somebody. We do believe that people convert, of course, but we don't believe in converting anybody. I can't convince somebody to be a Muslim. There's no amount of there's no, again, it doesn't matter, like, how many pamphlets I have, or I give them a Quran, or I'm doing this. There's nothing that I can do to now dictate or control whether somebody's going to become Muslim or not, whether they're going to receive hidayah or not. I hope every time I'm engaging with a non-Muslim that Allah will use me as sababul hidayah, as the means of hidayah, but ultimately it is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who is the fa'il, the doer, hadi. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who gives hidayah. And that is again according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ilm and hikmah, the knowledge of Allah and the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then, yeah, a few more minutes left, inshallah, and then we, the couple of things at the very end. So, okay. So in ayah number 79, same thing in Surah Al-Qasas. فَخَرَجَ عَلَى قَوْمِهِ فِي زِينَتِهِ قال الذين يريدون الحياة الدنيا يا ليت لنا مثل ما أوتي قرون إنه لذو حظ عظيم وقال الذين أوتوا العلم ويلكم ثواب الله خير لمن آمن وعمل صالحا ولا يلقاها إلا الصابرون. So we this juxtaposition is taking place now between those who are impressed with this dunya and the things that other people have. So the first group, the first category in ayah number 79 are those people who now that they come out and they're now seeing the zina, they're seeing the beauty, they're seeing all the bells and the whistles, they're seeing all the glitter and the shine of what other people have, the living conditions of other people. So they're seeing their wealth, they're seeing their enjoyment, and they're lamenting over the fact that if only we had been given what these people have been given. And here Qarun. So what Qarun has been given, إِنَّهُ لَذُو حَظٍّ عَظِيمٍ. So now when you're looking at these individuals who have wealth and who have status and who have a certain degree of perceived power, and they can fulfill their own desires, and this is not good fortune necessarily. If they have those things and it is taking them further away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then not only is it not good fortune, but actually it's a form of punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because what happens is those very things end up taking the person deeper and deeper into sin, further and further away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and their hope of salvation becomes more and more distant, the more immersed they become in their own indulgence and in enjoying the pleasures and all the glitter and the baubles of this world. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ. But those who have been given ilm, and this is what real knowledge is. So when we're talking about, mashallah, this one's an alim and that one is an alim, and I have knowledge. What is knowledge? Knowledge is this. Knowledge is something that the whole point of knowledge is it's supposed to bring us closer to the obedience of Allah. The person who has true knowledge is that person who that knowledge now that is bringing them closer to the obedience of Allah, the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their perspective is now including the akhirah and the vastness of the eternal soul, the immortal soul. This is the person who has knowledge, as opposed to somebody who now is a collector or a possessor of information. So we have to be very careful. It is on outward appearances, it can seem like a very subtle difference, but from our own personal perspective, when we're talking about whatever knowledge we do have, we even the dua of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi', that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for knowledge which is beneficial. So what is the benefit that I'm hoping to achieve? The benefit that I'm hoping to achieve is that I acquire the pleasure of Allah, the salvation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because I don't want to go to the hellfire. So when we're talking about ilm, that is ilm. Otherwise, shay'an akhir. It's just something else. So we have to be very careful now how we perceive what knowledge is, because there's different types of knowledge, obviously. So there's knowledge which is related to this dunya, there's knowledge which is related to particular fields and studies and so on and so forth. But what we're talking about here is knowledge which is what? It is that knowledge which is truly beneficial, that knowledge which is going to benefit that person fit dunya wa fil akhirah. So those who have been given knowledge, waylakum, what do they say? They say waylakum, woe upon you, that the thawab or the reward The reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is better for the one who believes and does righteous acts, does righteous deeds. Um, yeah, وَلَا يُلَقَّاهَا إِلَّا الصَّابِرِينَ. And I guess the best way of translating this is that um, you're not going to be able to do that. So you're not going to be able to meet this. You're not going to be able to engage in that. You're not going to be able to do that. Illa sabirin, except the ones who are patient. So the patience is in, you may not have everything that you want. You have to be patient in dealing with your desires. You have to be patient in waiting for your decreed risk to come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is destined for you and I to come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in its proper time, in its proper place. We have to be patient in dealing with those people who think that they're superior to us because they have more power or they have more wealth or they have, again, the finer cars, houses, clothes, spouses, etc. Maybe their kids can go to better schools, whatever the case may be. So they're kind of lording it over those who have less than them. You also have to be patient with their arrogance. You have to be patient with their oppression. So this patience, it is part and parcel of being a believer. And this is one of those things that you and I, that when we look and we see, especially living where we live, where we do see people who have so much compared to the vast majority. I mean, 99.99% of the world, we see people who are enjoying luxuries that a lot of people in the world that they've never even imagined, much less, even thought of indulging in or possessing or having the ability to be able to engage in. So this is a very key point for us, that as we're living here, don't get caught up in looking at what other people have, what they call keeping up with the Joneses. So you feel like you have less value, you have less worth because you don't have what they have, or because they look down upon you, or you don't have a degree, or you're like they have, or whatever um, whatever the case may be. Our status, again, and this is where we're talking about validation and friendship and this and that and the other. Our validation is only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ta'ala is the one who makes us what we're worth and decides what we're worth. It is not based on our monetary value. It's not the bottom line in our bank account. It's not based on degrees. It's not based on what you do for a living. It's not based on who you know. It's not based on what kind of influence and status you have in society. All of those things are actually completely and totally irrelevant if they are not bringing us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But even worse, more so to the fact that they are actually a means of our own demise. They actually become a means of our own destruction. So we have to be very careful that when the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is on somebody, and now we are looking at them with envy, that is a form of kufr. And when I say kufr here, I mean ingratitude, because now when you're looking at that and you're saying, I want to be like that. Allah, I don't want to be like this. I want to be like that. And that person is actually under the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and being punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And their final end is destruction. So for you and I to have Iman and to have Islam and to say, I want to be like that, that is kufr, that is ingratitude in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as always, we look toward the example of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, khairu khalq, the best of creation. We look at how he lived, and from a dunyawi perspective, if we look at his level of education, if we look at how he lived, if we look at how he dressed, if we look at every aspect of his life from a dunyawi perspective, from a worldly perspective, he would not have any standing whatsoever. It was only because of his status that was given to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we have the level of reverence and respect and admiration and all these other, mashallah, that we have for our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And what did he do with the wealth? When it came to him, he immediately gave it away. So this is, again, we can't go wrong by putting our footsteps, our fragile footsteps, in the footsteps of our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just real quick, as we're closing, inshallah, for this evening, this is the first night of the odd nights in the last 10 days of Ramadan. So the possibilities of Laylatul Qadr, We might talk about it more later on in the week. But I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if it's even like necessary to hashing all that out. Laylatul Qadr, it can come outside of these 10. It can come within these 10. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu an, also excuse me, Abu Hanifa also rahimahumullah. So you have even amongst the Sahaba and the Tabi'een, and there's others as well that they found Laylatul Qadr outside of Ramadan. So the point of it is that Ramadan is about trying to find this Laylatul Qadr. And if you look at Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, this process actually even began before Ramadan began in Sha'ban. So all of this preparation that goes into, and now these first 20 preceding 20 days of Ramadan. So now here we are. The big thing about it is that on these odd nights, inshallah, and please not just the odd nights, but if you can only do the odd nights, because we have some individuals that they're working and it's in the middle of a work week, and so just push yourself, inshallah. May Allah give us the ability and the strength to be able to do so, so that we push ourselves just a little bit more, inshallah, during these odd nights and try to catch Laylatul Qadr. It is better than 1,000 months. And the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is immense. So whatever little bit extra that we are able to do, again, it is nothing small, because now we have the amal itself, but then there's the sacrifice, the level of sacrifice that goes behind it as well, that fuels it. So that also is going to magnify it, besides the fact that it's Laylatul Qadr. So we try to catch Laylatul Qadr, inshallah. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she asked Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what should she say? What should she do if she were to find Laylatul Qadr? And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave her this beautiful dua, and it is its utility in all occasions, in all times. Allahumma innaka afoon tuhibbul afwa fa'afu anni. That, oh Allah, you love to pardon. Oh Allah, you are the one who pardons. Allahumma innaka afoon, you are the one who pardons. Tuhibbul afwa, you love to pardon. Fa'afu anni, so pardon me. And pardoning is afwa. It's the same thing for afia, when you're asking for ease. So it's pardoning is like, when somebody is guilty, they've been found guilty, they're in prison, and now they ask for a gubernatorial pardon, or they're asking for a presidential pardon, meaning I'm guilty, I know I'm guilty, and I'm in a situation where I'm worthy and deserving of punishment. But what I'm asking for is I'm asking for mercy, and I'm asking for my crimes to be overlooked, and I'm asking to be released from this punishment. And that is what we're asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on us, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pardon us, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala release us from any punishment that we may have earned by our own hands and by our own tongues, by our own actions. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the strength to be able to engage in more and more ibadah during these last 10 days of Ramadan, especially during the odd nights. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to catch Laylatul Qadr. Just if I will try not to forget, but just in case I do, just another reminder that please, I don't think it'll be the case this year, because we're already we're all in our own form of i'tikaf, mashallah. But think about that also, that even as we're not able to be in the masjid, for those who are usually able to do i'tikaf, even myself, I had planned on doing it this year, but Allah is the best of planners. We are in our own little form of i'tikaf, and the point is to seclude ourselves and to back away from this dunya as much as possible, and now try to engage in ibadah throughout the day during these last 10 days as much as possible. And again, with those nights, the odd number nights, but that also includes the 28th, the 29th, and possibly the 30th. So once the 27th comes, I know there's a lot of programs and this and that and the other that are planned specifically for the 27th, but the The Ramadan does not end on the 27th. There is still the 28th. The 29th is still an odd night, and then potentially we have the 30th as well, which is also a day of Ramadan. If there's a 30th day in this month of Ramadan, then that day is just as special as the previous 29, and it's also an obligation, just like the previous 29. So may Allah give us the strength and the backbone and the ability to be able to take advantage of this full month of Ramadan and be able to ramp up our efforts during these last 10 days. May Allah Ta'ala make it easy upon all of us. Jazakumullahu khairan jaza wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. La ilaha illallah. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, today I'll read the first quarter of the 20th juz. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أمن خلق السماوات والأرض وأنزل لكم من السماء ماء فأنبتنا به حدائق ذات بهجة ما كان لكم أن تنبتوا شجرها أإله مع الله بل هم قوم يعدلون. أما جعل الأرض قرارا وجعل خلالها أنهارا وجعل لها رواسي وجعل بين البحرين حاجزا أإله مع الله بل أكثرهم لا يعلمون. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض أإله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون. أمن يهديكم في ظلمات البر والبحر ومن يرسل الرياح بشرا بين يدي رحمته أإله مع الله تعالى الله عما يشركون. أمن يبدأ الخلق ثم يعيده ومن يرزقكم من السماء والأرض أإله مع الله قل هاتوا برهانكم إن كنتم صادقين. قل لا يعلم ما في السماوات والأرض الغيب إلا الله وما يشعرون أيان يبعثون بل ادارك علمهم في الآخرة بل هم في شك منها بل هم منها عمون. وقال الذين كفروا أئذا كنا ترابا وآباؤنا أئنا لمخرجون لقد وعدنا هذا نحن وآباؤنا من قبل إن هذا إلا أساطير الأولين. قل سيروا في الأرض فانظروا كيف كان عاقبة المجرمين ولا تحزن عليهم ولا تكن في ضيق مما يمكرون ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين. قل عسى أن يكون ردف لكم بعض الذي تستعجلون وإن ربك لذو فضل على الناس ولكن أكثرهم لا يشكرون وإن ربك ليعلم ما تكن صدورهم وما يعلنون وما من غائبة في السماء والأرض إلا في كتاب مبين إن هذا القرآن يقص على بني إسرائيل أكثر الذي هم فيه يختلفون وإنه لهدى ورحمة للمؤمنين إن ربك يقضي بينهم بحكمه وهو العزيز العليم فتوكل على الله إنك على الحق المبين إنك لا تسمع الموتى ولا تسمع الصم الدعاء إذا ولوا مدبرين وما أنت بهاد العمي عن ضلالتهم إن تسمع إلا من يؤمن بآياتنا فهم مسلمون وإذا وقع القول عليهم أخرجنا لهم دائبة من الأرض تكلمهم أن الناس كانوا بآياتنا لا يوقنون ويوم نحشر من كل أمة فوجا ممن يكذب بآياتنا فهم يوزعون حتى إذا جاءوا قالوا أكذبتم بآياتي ولم تحيطوا بها علما أم ماذا كنتم تعملون ووقع القول عليهم بما ظلموا فهم لا ينطقون أولم يروا أنا جعلنا الليل ليسكنوا فيه والنهار مبصرا إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يؤمنون ويوم ينفخ في الصور ففزع ما في السماوات وما في الأرض إلا ما شاء الله وكل أتوه داخرين وترى الجبال تحسبها جامدة وهي تمر مر السحاب صنع الله الذي أتقن كل شيء إنه خبير بما تفعلون من جاء بالحسنة فله خير منها وهم من فزع يومئذ آمنون ومن جاء بالحسنة فكبت وجوههم في النار هل تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إنما أمرت أن أعبد رب هذه البلدة الذي حرمها وله كل شيء وأمرت أن أكون من المسلمين وأن أتلو القرآن فمن اهتدى فإنما يهتدي لنفسه وما ضل فقل إنما أنا من المنذرين وقل الحمد لله سيريكم آياته فتعرفونها وما ربك بغافل عما تعملون بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم طاسيم تلك آيات الكتاب المبين نتلو عليك من نبأ موسى وفرعون بالحق لقوم يؤمنون إن فرعون علا في الأرض وجعل أهلها شيعا يستضعف طائفة منهم يذبح أبناءهم ويستحيي نساءهم إنه كان من المفسدين ونريد أن نمن على الذين استضعفوا في الأرض ونجعلهم أئمة ونجعلهم الوارثين ونمكن لهم في الأرض ونري فرعون وهامان وجنودهما منهم ما كانوا يحذرون وأوحينا إلى أم موسى أن أرضعيه فإذا خفت عليه فألقيه في اليم ولا تخافي ولا تحزني إنا رادوه إليك وجاعلوه من المرسلين فالتقطه آل فرعون ليكون لهم عدوا وحزنا إن فرعون وهامان وجنودهما كانوا خاطئين وقالت امرأة فرعون قرة عين لي ولك لا تقتلوه عسى أن ينفعنا أو نتخذه ولدا وهم لا يشعرون وأصبح فؤاد أم موسى فارغا إن كادت لتبدي به لولا أن ربطنا على قلبها لتكون من المؤمنين وقالت لأخته قصي فبصرت به عن جنب وهم لا يشعرون وحرمنا عليه المراضي من قبل فقالت هل أدلكم على أهل بيت يكفلونه لكم وهم له ناصحون فرددناه إلى أمه كي تقر عينها ولا تحزن ولتعلم أن وعد الله حق ولكن أكثرهم لا يعلمون صدق الله العظيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وصحبه أجمعين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ألف مرة سبحان رب العزة.
Yeah, you have to do it on that. That's where you plug that all and stuff.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة، حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح، حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله.